Okay, sorry for the delay. Hello, I'm Will Dudley. I'm here to talk about my motivations for my work in AI for personalisation to individuals. So just about me, I'm doing a CDT in AI for Health at Imperial in human-robot collaboration. I come from math and neurotechnology. I'm keen on Python and MLOps outside of work. And I've also had cerebral palsy since birth due to lack of oxygen, and this obviously affects my voice, giving me dysarthria, and also affects all 4 limbs of my body. And just in case, I want to give a disclaimer. I'm aware that I am speaking about disability. By no means am I representative of disabled people as a whole. I have disabled friends, and we agree on some things and disagree on others. And I'm by no means an expert in disability studies. However, I do follow some activists shown here on YouTube who would be more well informed. On a related note, why give a talk? And personally, this is quite a nuanced decision, because as Stella Young put it, I believe in the early 2010s, you don't really want to give a talk and just seem like an inspiration, or just want to, give a talk and not have anything to show that the disability. However, I've recently read System Error and some other books on AI and tech, and all of these books make a point about representation in AI and the negative externalities of avoiding this. I'm sure we're all aware of cases where Amazon's hiring algorithm discriminates against female names, or Google's image recognition system not being effective against people of color. And I live around South Kensington, and here's a picture of it. One thing that I found a bit weird about this is that all the shops seem to have steps up into the shop places, right? Fortunately, I can do steps for now, but that's not the point, right? This infrastructure was designed without disabled voices in mind, and as a result, there's exclusivity, and we need to actively work to fix these mistakes or oversight. So in order to explain my motivations, I need to explain my experiences. So I did well in primary school, but in order to find a suitable secondary school that would not only support me physically, but be appropriate for me intellectually, my parents and I and my family had to move 50 miles down south to get schooling. Inside of school, I was doing well, but outside of school, I found it hard to get private lessons, which I wanted. I wanted lessons in coding and drumming, but my instructors basically didn't know what to do with me. So I'm like, okay, this disability thing I have is kind of holding me back. Fortunately, as I said, in school I did well, and a big reason for this was getting personal support in dictating my notes. And the support workers that I worked with got to know me really well and got to know my idiosyncrasies and traits. Now, this concept of getting to know someone quite well is commonly talked about in a romantic setting, because your partner would get to know you and it would be a nice thing to have. But for me, it was really essential for my studies and progression. For example, and math is my favorite subject, in dictating the quadratic formula, you would say minus b plus minus rho b squared minus 4ac over 2a. But to a scribe, that isn't attuned to my intonation and other things. They could easily just write this equation based on what I said, and that would be correct based on what I said, but obviously not what I intended. And this learning process is something that I cannot express in words. I do not know how to teach someone to get used to my intonation. It just has to happen very implicitly. So that's the first motivation for my work, is implicit personalization. The next motivation comes from this concept called the curb cut effect. I heard about this from a YouTube video by an accessible video gamer for context. And to summarize, the idea is that enabling few people via things like slopes on pavement, curbside, and subtitles in video is actually convenient for many people. Now, this is usually the focus of the curb cut effect, but for me, as a disabled person, I found that conveniencing many people has also enabled me and few other people via things like smart tags for finding your keys, via audio and key bindings for personalizing computer usage. Some personal examples include a mouse with extra buttons, a joystick instead of a keyboard, a one-handed oven mitt, and a one-handed tray to carry drinks. And all these things have impacted my life massively and enabled me to do a lot more things. However, they're all marketed as convenience items for able-bodied people. So there is a strong benefit from this market for me. That's not to say that I haven't had massive improvements for items just targeted at disabled people, but the majority of items have been marketed towards able-bodied people. Now, the third motivation is that comes from over time, throughout my education, I found more and more importance on writing in order to learn, right? Because arguably a good way to learn something is to write it out over and over again. I find that hard due to my disability, and I write much, much slower than my peers. And I found this effect escalating over time. And to do with, I decided to undergo brain surgery, where they put electrodes in your brain to try to help. This is image of my head. However, I found the process of fine-tuning the settings of the surgery very exhausting, because you often go to the hospital every 6 months and they ask you whether you felt like you've improved or not. And you say, yes, I have, or no, I haven't. But first of all, knowing that is very difficult, especially with a disability that varies day to day. And secondly, it's a very slow process. So this open loop system of feedback and making a change, to me, was very annoying, and ideally it would be closer together, meaning email updates more regularly. That there are difficulties with that. Sorry about the slide. So the brain surgery didn't actually work as planned, and I still had challenges with writing. Doing a math degree, I found that there was a reluctance of my professors to provide visual examples of the theorems they were writing, because they thought that the best way to understand math was to write it down. I even went to my personal tutor, being like, saying that I'm struggling with understanding this math, and he just told me to write out the proof over and over again, which I found hard, and I related this to my programming experience, which was just to use a very advanced typing system which needed two hands. And it's like, okay, I can't do that. I'm gonna have to find other ways to learn about math, which I still love. So these three sources were influential to me because they're very visual sources. And it led me to want to study dynamical systems and game theory and optimization, which are more visual. All of these four things combined have led me to this PhD where I am today. That is personalization, generalizability across lots of different humans, closed loop, and of course, interesting to me. In order to investigate this, I use an AI technique called reinforcement learning, where essentially the loop is closed, which means that if you, as an AI, take an action, you immediately get feedback from that action, as seen on the left, like a state and a reward. And this process improves the agent recursively. In the green box, we see the common human-robot interaction technique of a human essentially supervising the AI, providing feedback. But if you remember me talking about my support assistant and how we both learned together to work with each other, this is what I'm interested in, and this is in the purple box. And I refer to this as implicit communication, but it's also known as legible motion. I'm sorry. Has my presentation
I think it might be frozen. We're still on challenges with handling the abstract and comfort within visual motivation.
Oh no, what a shame. Okay, I'm sorry about this. My laptop has massive technical difficulties. That was about it for my talk. I have published a paper in IROS last year, which looks into human-robot collaboration, and we've shown that AI is able to personalize to humans and co-learn with humans, but I'm happy to talk about that offline if anyone's interested. So yeah, I think my laptop is not responding. So I think I'm okay to end it there.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was a really informative talk, and it's great to see that you have found a way to carry on loving maths. If anyone has any questions for William, then please do pop them in the Q&A. And thank you very much for your time. We're getting a lot of thanks from people for hearing from you. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, please do pop them in the Q&A. Our next speaker will be starting in a few minutes. We're just getting a lot of thanks, William. Thank you very much. Someone's asking for your contact details, William. So I can always share these with you later. If you give me permission, I can always send them out afterwards.
Yes, please do. I'll put it in the chat, but also, yeah, I'd just like to say thanks for doing this. It's been difficult to maybe find an appropriate platform to speak on, and I hope people have enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I've certainly very much enjoyed it, and it's an honour to be able to give a platform to people to raise their voices. Thank you for popping your email in the chat. We've actually shared it with the host of panelists, so I don't know if you want to share it to everyone else, but thank you very, very much. Coming up next, we've got Luis Canto y Castro from City Mouse. So